Grace and peace multiply to you and yours in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Most High God, the Savior, to those that keep His commandments. Thank God for allowing us to wake up and see another day. Happy Sabbath day to all my brothers and sisters out there. Stay strong in that word. This is part 2 to Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Now, I showed you a few things in the last lesson, and one has to realize in his mind that when people are talking about Babylon, they have to figure out exactly which instance of Babylon is being spoken of. Because there's several instances. There's the Babylon back in the old days, the first Babylon, which was with Nimrod. And you can read about that in Genesis chapter 10. And then you also can read about in the Bible about Babylon, the Babylonian captivity. That was with the Neo-Babylonian Empire with Nebuchadnezzar, because the first Babylon were Hamitic seed. Nimrod and them were out of the seed of Ham. The Neo-Babylonian Empire are Gentiles. And the Lord put these 4 winds on Israel, which is 4 Gentile dynasties, 4 European dynasties that's going to come upon the Israel and whoop on them till they get it right. And we are still under that 4th kingdom now. And how it happened was, it went down in succession in history. You can read about it all over the world. You can read about it on the internet. You can go to the library and find about it. It was the Babylonians, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, and the Romans. The Romans is that 4th empire, and it is right now, as we speak, building back its power to be a world ruler again. And I'm gonna read you some of that. Now, turn in your Bibles to Daniel chapter 7. We're gonna read a little bit about it, straight out the Bible first, how it happened in history. Because Daniel was a prophet. The Lord gave him knowledge and put it in a dream and visions how these Gentile dynasties were going to rule, how they were going to come in succession. This is Daniel chapter 7, and I'm going to begin with verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, see, Daniel and his friends, they were already under the Babylonian control with Nebuchadnezzar. Because Nebuchadnezzar in 605 BC came in there and took people captives, and 605 and 597 and 587, I believe, something like that. It was 3 times Nebuchadnezzar came in there and put people in captivity and slavery and burnt the temple to the ground. Now, the king of Babylon, now Belshazzar was a successor to Nebuchadnezzar. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. And we're going to find out about these 4 winds. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. Verse 4, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet of it, feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. This is talking about the Babylonian Empire with Nebuchadnezzar. It says a lion with eagle's wings, but it says a man's heart was given to it because Nebuchadnezzar, through his rulership, through his kingdom, he had got puffed up, and the Lord had to humble him. So, now, verse 5, and behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. This bear is the Medo-Persian Empire. And who still got this symbol of the bear today? Russia. Sound interesting, don't it? It's gonna point to some things in the future. Gotta be open open-minded. Verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. This is the Greek Empire, where Alexander the Great. But Alexander the Great died at a young age, at the pinnacle of his reign, and his 4 generals took over. Now, verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Whoa, there go them 10 horns again. So you know what it's talking about. This is talking about the Roman Empire. Because the Greeks were in power for a while, and then what empire came up after them? The Roman Empire. And speaking of that, let me show you something right quick. I'm reading to you. Oh, Lord. I'm reading it to you out the Bible. And let's see. Ooh, I hope you can see that. Okay. This is something similar to what Daniel saw in one of his visions, one of his dreams. Okay, at the top, okay, you see the statue. It's got the head of gold that represents Nebuchadnezzar. Then you got the arms and the feet of, I guess, what's that, silver, or then the brass, and then at the bottom is iron and clay. The Medo-Persians, okay, the Babylonians, 605 BC to 539 BC was their rulership, was their kingdom. Then the Medo-Persians took over, 539 to 331 BC. Then the Greeks, it says Grecia, 331 to 168 BC. And after that, the Roman Empire. See, it says Rome, 168 BC to 476 AD. Out of all 4 of these kingdoms, out of all 4 of these Gentile dynasties, who ruled and reigned the longest? The Roman Empire. And you can see, if you can see that it's represented by a beast that's unlike to the others. So now, oh wait, that's upside down. So, read it to you out the Bible, and I just wanted to show you that illustration because the illustration did have dates. Oh. I need a new tripod, folks. Well, that just go to show you that anything that's man-made over time wears out. But bear with me now. You gotta go through the elements when you're outside and the beauty of the park. Then you gotta deal with man-made contraptions. Ooh-wee. So, pardon me, forgive me for that. But when you come into the knowledge of the truth, you got all kind of obstacles against you. Because Satan, which is the dragon that I read to you before, he's going to bring all kind of obstacles against you. You got to be strong in this thing. You got to know that whatever happens, as long as the Lord give you the breath of life to continue on, you got to keep striving. You cannot give up. Because the Lord will not put on us any more than we can bear. That means we can make it through it. Just got to keep trying. We can't stop. Just like the scriptures say, the word of the Lord will not go out in vain. Just like the rain coming down, it's gonna keep on going. It might take a little while to get out there, but it's gonna be out there, and it's gonna be out there for everybody that's truly seeking Him to receive it. That's if the Father draw them. Now, this is a history book, Atlas of the Bible, and this is page 146. It says, The Brief Glory of Babylon. Because you got Babylon on a physical sense, you got Babylon on a spiritual sense. And right now, we under the rulership of the Babylon on a spiritual sense. And behind that spirit is Satan the devil. Because the physical Babylon ended a long time ago. I just showed you that in 539 BC it was over with, and another Gentile dynasty took over, which were the Medes and Persians. Now all those kings are gone, but there's a spiritual. Rome was the last one, but there's a spiritual Rome right now working. But anyway, brief glory of Babylon. Against the long span of Near Eastern history, the Babylonian Renaissance of the 7th and 6th centuries BC can be described as meteoric, dramatic, brilliant, and brief. By the time Assyrian king Ashurbanipal died in 627, the population of Babylonia included large numbers of Chaldeans. See, that's why when you read the Bible, it say of the Chaldeans, because they were one and the same. They were synonymous with each other. That's why you might read when it says the Babylonians or the Chaldeans. It's talking about the same people. Now I'm gonna skip down for sake of time. Leader Nabopolassar, that's Nebuchadnezzar's father, Babylonia's first Chaldean king. See, how was he the first Chaldean king when you can go all the way back to Genesis 10 and read about Nimrod? See, that's the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Now, it says Babylon's first Chaldean king to declare his independence in 626. During the years of intermittent warfare that ensued, the Assyrians grew steadily weaker, particularly after the Babylonians joined the Medes in a coalition against them. In 612, these allies destroyed Assyria's famed capital, Nineveh, an event described with understandable glee by the prophet Nahum. Now, I'm going to skip over. Within a remarkably short time, Babylon possessed an empire nearly as large as that built up by Assyria over a span of centuries. Nabopolassar's son, Nebuchadnezzar, proved more than equal to the task of governing such a domain during his long reign, 605 to 562. Well, yeah. Okay, he was as capable of brutality as any Assyrian conqueror, because the Assyrians, they put their skins and hung them up on the wall. You know, they was brutal. But you can read in 2 Chronicles 36 where Nebuchadnezzar went inside the church and killed men, women, and children. He did all kinds of stuff, but the Lord allowed it because the people kept on disobeying. Now, it says he was as capable of brutality as any Assyrian conqueror, as evidenced by his destruction of Jerusalem in 587 and the merciless treatment of the captured king Zedekiah. Because what did he do to Zedekiah? He killed Zedekiah's people in front of him and then blinded them. So that'd be the last thing he saw. That's wicked, ain't it? Now, but the power and glory of Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon was not destined long to outlive him. In the 7 years following his death in 562, the throne was occupied by 3 successors before it was seized by Nabonidus. His erratic reign from some 17 years will provide the final chapter in the empire's short history, for Babylon no longer possessed the unity or the will to defend itself. A major new threat appeared in the person of Cyrus, king of the Persians. That's right, from Babylon, the Medes and the Persians, then the Greeks. And since I've read the Greek, this is another history book. This is Ancient Egypt, Myth and History. This is about Alexander the Great, the Macedonian king who brought most of the Near East under his rule in an empire that reached from Greece to India. With his conquest of the Persians, in 333 BC, Babylon, Greece, Babylon, Medo-Persians, and Greece. He acquired Egypt, at that time under the Second Persian occupation. It was as a result of Alexander's conquest that the Ptolemies ruled Egypt. On the death of Alexander, his enormous dominions were divided among his principal lieutenants. See? And that was Ptolemy, Cassander, Lysimachus, and Seleucus. Now, this is another history book, last 2 million years. And this is talking about Rome. Page 215. For 400 years, the Roman Empire gave unity and security to the Mediterranean world and to Europe up to and at times beyond the Rhine. After the final collapse of Rome in 476, see, I showed you that on the little picture. That's when it supposedly ended. It says, after the final collapse of Rome in 476, when its last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Goths under the leadership of Odoacer, the Christian church gave Europe a similar measure of unity for the next 1,000 years. Because I'm going to read you that the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, has a religious knowledge, a religious understanding. And speaking of which, let me show you something. Very next page, 216. Pagan rites absorbed. By a stroke of tactical genius, the church, that's the Roman Catholic Church, while intolerant of pagan beliefs, was able to harness the powerful emotions generated by pagan worship. Often churches were cited where temples had stood before, and many heathen festivals were added to the Christian calendar. Easter, for instance, pagan rites absorbed. Easter has nothing to do with Jesus. Easter, for instance, a time of sacrifice and rebirth in the Christian calendar, takes its name from the Norse goddess Eoster, in whose honor rites were held every spring. She, in turn, was simply a northern version of the Phoenician earth mother Astarte, goddess of fertility. That's why. That's right. Eggs, goddess of fertility, because it was sacred prostitution. Fertility, you're having sex all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, I just wanted to touch on that. And I'm going to read it to you out of the book of Daniel. Because Daniel warned us in his prophecies about the abomination of desolation. Now, speaking of which, I apologize for the last lesson I said that you could read where he says dark sands in Daniel chapter 11. It was Daniel chapter 8, which I'm about to read now. Daniel chapter 8. In the third year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which had appeared unto me at the first. Now, chapter 7, it was the first year of King Belshazzar. Now, I'm going to skip down for sake of time. Verse 9, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great, toward the south and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Verse 11, yea, he magnified himself to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. That's pointing the future. Now, I'm going to skip down for sake of time. Verse 19, and he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for the time appointed the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. That's Alexander the Great. Verse 22, now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. That was his four generals. Verse 23, and in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. And who is that? The king out of the Roman Empire. The Pope. Verse 24, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. Whoa, sound familiar, don't it? Who does Mystery Babylon the Great get his power from? Satan the devil, the dragon, the serpent. And he shall destroy wonderfully. Whoa. He gonna have so much power, he gonna destroy wonderfully. And shall prosper and practice and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. See, there go them saints that don't have understanding getting killed. Verse 25, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. Now this is future. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. So I read this to show my Hebrew brothers, this is not talking about Antiochus Epiphanes, which came out of the Greek dynasty. Antiochus Epiphanes, he died, and he's not coming back, and he did not come in peaceably. And also, I'm gonna show you something else. And by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes. That's Jesus. But he shall be broken without hand. Now, go over to chapter 11, Daniel 11. Let me show you something about this. Show you something else about this abomination, desolation, this Mystery Babylon the Great. It's a mystery because the world don't know it. The world don't know it. Now, in chapter 11, this is another clue to show you that this wasn't Antiochus Epiphanes. Verse 24, 11:24. He shall enter peaceably, see, even upon the fattest places of the province. And he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, and spoil and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds even for a time. Now, I'm going to skip over. Verse 31, and arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And verse 32, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. Verse 33, and they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword. That's them saints. And by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days. Now, verse 35, and some of them of understanding shall fall to try them, and to purge and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. It hasn't happened yet. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall, verse 37, neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women. Whoa. Antiochus Epiphanes, he liked women. He had a son, at least one that we know of. This one, he don't like women. What's always happening in the Roman Catholic Church? They always got pedophiles messing with young boys. Ain't that a big clue? Nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. That's why they call themselves, when anybody that's supposed to be the Pope, they call themselves the Vicar of Christ, which is substitute for the Son of God. But their doctrine is totally contrary. So until next time, I hope somebody got some understanding. Grace and peace multiplied to you and yours. Be safe in all your travels. Much love. Stay strong. Peace.